Unsuspected gang members bring a gun to Hoopfest.
And get slam dunked by someone they didn't see coming.
Went to the shooter and looked at him and said, you know, you got to remember, cops come in all colors.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Robin Nance.
And I'm Dave Erickson. Spokane's biggest Hoopfest in history is behind us, but not before a gang-related shooting gave the event a violent black eye.
We have two crews working this story tonight. McKay talked with Hoopfest organizers and asked if they plan to make any security changes next year. But first, KXLY4's Jeff Humphrey is live in Riverfront Park, where the suspected triggerman pulled his gun right in front of an off-duty policewoman. Jeff?
That's right, Robin. Detective Stacy Carr was volunteering at a charity event here in the park along with her daughter. When the shooting happened, that's when Carr decided to follow the suspects and used her cell phone to guide other officers to this crime scene. The shooting is a reminder that armed gang members like Spokane sporting events as much as we do. It's what can happen when the competitive spirit gives way to gross stupidity.
His hand's out like he's holding a gun, but I can't see a gun. And he's just from here to you and I. And he turned around and he looks like he's firing, but again, I don't see a gun. I hear the pop, pop.
The bullet or bullets intended for a rival gangster actually ended up hitting two innocent bystanders who didn't want to be identified.
Everything blacked out. I didn't even know what to do. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been shot.
Not realizing that someone had been hit by the gunfire, Detective Carr wanted to get a better description of the shooter, so she pulled out her cell phone.
So I grabbed my phone, I started to call 911. Then I hung up because I wanted to get a picture of this guy because I was sure I was going to lose him in the crowd.
Carr then began following the suspects as they tried to leave Riverfront Park, her 11-year-old not far behind her.
The suspects were high-fiving each other, and it was like, got him made. And then the troops arrived and took him into custody.
Police identified the gunman as 19-year-old Miguel Garcia and arrested him on 2 counts of first-degree assault. His alleged victims angry about someone who would fire a gun into a crowd of women and children.
I was unlucky because out of everyone down there, it's just crazy that I was one of the people that got shot, but it makes me realize, I'm so lucky I'm alive. It could have been so much worse than just in my foot. Detective
Carr is also relieved that no one was more seriously injured and glad her off-duty clothes gave her a chance to keep those suspects in sight.
Well, I have to admit, after they were in custody, I went to the shooter and looked at him and said, you know, you got to remember, cops come in all colors.
Now, an officer named Jerry Anderson cornered the young man that ended up with a gun and almost shot him when the suspect tried to draw that weapon. But then Anderson saw that there was a huge crowd behind him, and so he holstered his weapon and tackled the suspect instead, fully expecting to get shot himself, but thinking that way, at least the innocent people in the background wouldn't get hurt. Reporting live in Riverfront Park, Jeff Humphrey, KXLY4.
In the wake of that shooting, many are asking if Hoopfest is safe enough. With all those players and all those teams and all those people, is there enough security? Is the event getting too big to manage? KXLY4's McKay spoke to Spokane PD and Hoopfest director today and asked them those exact questions. McKay?
Well, part of the problem is really the location of Hoopfest. It's not like it's an enclosed area that you can search people as they come in. These are public parks, public streets. It's difficult, if not impossible, to manage the entire situation.
It marred an otherwise perfect weekend.
There are things that go wrong.
For the first time in 21 years of Hoopfest, a major incident.
Clearly, we can't control every incident that happens.
Hoopfest Executive Director Rick Steltenpohl says Hoopfest's response plan was executed perfectly. Within minutes, even seconds of the shooting, suspects were in custody, the wounded were in an ambulance, and the scene was secure.
All we can do is react to it, and we feel like we did that.
Is it even possible at a huge sprawling outdoor event to prevent something like this from happening? Spokane PD says no.
We have a gang presence in the city of Spokane, and we have related crimes, and they are continuing to become more and more violent. So when you have a venue like Hoopfest downtown and you insert the right variables, it's just a recipe for disaster.
There are no entry points, no checkpoints, no places to search people. Is Hoopfest simply getting too big to be secure?
We certainly, though, are reaching capacity.
Steltenpohl says expansion may have to stop, but not because of safety, because of space. They are simply running out of places to put courts.
We're certainly reaching capacity. It's 7,000 teams is, way beyond any other community that does this.
Bottom line, even with cops and Hoopfest security everywhere, with over 200,000 people in downtown, there are bound to, every 21 years or so, be problems.
And Hoopfest has a layered security mechanism, meaning there are court monitors on every court. Every 6 to 10 courts, you'll have a court marshal that's in charge of about a half dozen courts. Then you have a rapid response team, which are sort of retired or current law enforcement types that Hoopfest employs or volunteers to sort of control the situation. Add that to the cops. There is a lot of security, but with the situation, with the largeness of the event and the largeness of downtown, it's difficult to control everything everybody does. Reporting live, McKay Allen, KXLY 4 HD News.